Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Out on another bike review, very pleased to say I'm on a bike that's been requested an awful lot. This is the brand new from Triumph Tiger 1200. It's what used to be called the Explorer. Haven't ridden one of these for a long time. It's been hugely updated since I last rode one, so really looking forward to getting to know this bike a little bit. So stick around and stay tuned. I'll give you my first impressions review of the Triumph Tiger 1200. So I've literally just picked this bike up about 20 minutes ago, so I haven't been riding it for long, but you can quickly form some sort of initial impressions of bikes, can't you? And well, this thing is a beast. It just feels mahoosive. It's got bags to go though, as you can see, and it's beautifully comfortable. The first thing that strikes me about the bike is just how comfortable it is. Well, after I guess the sheer size of it, it just feels like a massive bike. And actually it does feel quite heavy as well, I have to say. I'm very used to riding the BMW GS, as you may know if you've seen other of my videos. And this does feel a bit heavier when you get her off the stand, but once she's going, she's absolutely fine, and handling wise, on the move, she's lovely. So I'm not sure what this driver's doing here. This big old 1200cc engine has loads of torque, and you wind it on and she just goes. Just get past this truck. So the other things I immediately notice about the bike, other than the comfortable sitting position, are how cosseted you are behind this big screen. I'm in a bubble of calm here. I've got absolutely no buffeting on my helmet or anything like that. It's really nice and protected. The weather protection on this is brilliant, and this big screen as well for this, the new Tiger 1200, is now electrically adjustable. It's a bit of a faff because you have to go on the TFT screen here to see where it says screen adjust height, and then you can use the joystick to go up and down. You see it's going down now, and that's in its lowest position. I can feel quite a lot of buffeting now, but a great feature that it's actually electrically adjustable. I don't know why more bikes haven't done that. Actually, I'm going straight on here. I can go this way. So I love the comfort, I love the screen. The other thing that's really nice on this is the quick shifter. It's both up and down, and it works beautifully. It's one of the best ones I've used, both ways through the box, even at slow speeds. Let's get that screen back up again. Caught a bit of turbulence beyond this big truck. Alright, just while I'm waiting for an opportunity to get past this truck, what are some of the other practical things? What about the mirrors? Well, the mirrors, funny old shape, but they work absolutely beautifully on big stalks, and I'm not looking at my shoulder or anything. I've just got a great view behind on both mirrors, so they work nicely. The gearbox, as I say, is great through the up and down shift, is absolutely lovely. What I would say though is the clutch has got a very wide biting point. It is adjustable, so you could possibly make that a bit easier, but when I first got on the bike, it took me a little while to get used to exactly where the biting point was. You almost release the clutch fully before she actually pulls away, but that's just a matter of getting used to the bike. Here's my chance. One thing that I'm slightly disappointed about with the bike is the sound it makes. I mean, it's got the big old triple engine. I love triple engines, but it doesn't have a great sound about it. There's really very little sound at all. It's got a little bit of that distinctive whistle that you get from triples. Slow down here. But it's not, you know, it's not kind of in your face. It's not an exciting sound. This just has the standard can on. I think if I had one of these, I'd probably be tempted to change that for something that gives it a little bit more character. Suspension wise, it's absolutely beautiful. It's got this active type suspension on here that does all the clever calculations as you ride along and adjusts itself accordingly, and it's really, really nice. It's a beautiful ride on here. The only thing I would say is when you brake, there's quite a lot of dive at the front compared to what I'm used to, but that's a minor point. Generally speaking, the ride quality is beautiful on this bike. Whilst I'm on practical points, the other thing that's beautiful on a day like today when there's still some snow laying around, look, is I've got heated grips and heated seat, both of which are turned on at the moment. You might be able to see there, look, the little display, and that is absolutely beautiful on a day when it's well, it's actually 8.5 degrees now, but earlier on it was about 6, and it's a godsend, I can tell you. Now this particular machine that I'm riding is the XCA. Now the Tiger ranges, both the big 1200 and the 800s as well, come in a lot of different variants, and the XC versions are the more off-road oriented ones. This one has things like spoked wheels, for example. But this is the sort of top of the range bike, if you like. It's absolutely laden with electronics. Not only does it have that electronic suspension I mentioned, but it's also got things like cruise control, it's got lean angle, sensitive ABS, of course it's got the TFT screen, the screen adjustment I've talked about, the heated seat, etc. You name the electronic function, it's been thrown at this, so this really is a top spec bike. And I'm really lucky to say that this actually is a bike that the Triumph factory have lent me for long-term assessment, so I'm going to have this for the next few weeks, so I'm going to really get to know the bike. So it's going to be interesting to get to, you know, see exactly how those electronics work. But certainly on this first ride out, it seems like a really nice bike. If you were going to do long miles, you know, long distance mile munching, this is the machine for that. Beautiful weather protection and great comfort. Right, there's nothing immediately behind me. I'm just going to check the front brake. Yeah, it works well, but I don't know if you noticed that dive. Let me just do that again. Still nothing behind me. Let's just get a bit of speed up. Okay, it's right, I'm going to brake now. See how much that dived compared to, again, what I'm used to with the funny suspension of my BMW, which stays rock solid. That is quite a pitching motion when you put the brake on. Let me just try the rear brake. Yeah, rear brake feels good. Just notice there's a little tiny bit of vibration in the mirrors when you accelerate. And funnily enough, at higher speed I notice there's a little bit of vibration through the bars, which is unusual for a triple. It's not intrusive, it's not terrible by any means, but it's there, which surprised me, which is why I mention it. For the 2018 model, the big old Tiger 1200 gets the TFT screen that we first saw on the New Street Triple, of course. It's pretty nice implementation on the Triumph, I have to say. I'm assuming, I don't yet know because I've not played with it much, but I'm assuming it's much the same as the one on the Street Triple in terms of its customization. And the handling on this is just amazing. It really is much more chuckable than it deserves to be. So yeah, so you can configure this TFT screen in lots of different ways. And I think it's quite a nice clear presentation on the Triumphs as well. Personally, for me, the jury is still out as to whether TFT screens are a huge advance over analog dials for ease of use. And there's no doubt, obviously, you can get more information on them because you can change screens, and they are no doubt going to be, you know, the way of the future. All bikes are going to have them. But for me, it's not a sort of a deal breaker whether a machine has TFT or not, I think. But as I say, quite a lot the way that Triumph does it. Okay, so much for the practicalities and so on. I guess what I should do is find myself a good place to park up. I'll show you around the bike and I'll talk you through the spec. Loving the handling on this. And it rides a bit more like a sports bike than a big adventure bike. I mentioned earlier that it's a very comfortable riding position on here, but I didn't actually describe what the position was like, so I guess it's worth doing. In terms of the handlebars, they're quite wide and quite far back, which gives a nice relaxed riding position. It feels very similar again to the BMW GS in terms of its dimensions of the sort of 3 points of where you touch the bike: your hands, your backside and your feet. In that my legs as well are not actually at a right angle, they're a little acute. But my feet, the pegs, are pretty much, you know, exactly underneath my backside. But it's not a sporty riding position, but neither is it like you're sitting in an armchair, a bit like you feel when you're riding, say, a Bonneville. I find it a very neutral position, and one that I think could just hold for hours on end. So you could ride for miles and miles on this with no fatigue whatsoever. It is quite a tall bike, and it has an adjustable seat. And when I go through the specs in a minute, I'll give you the range. I'm not sure how this one is set, but at the moment I'm on tippy toe when I stop on this bike. I'm 5'8" tall, and I think have a 32-inch inseam, and I'm finding it just a little bit taller than I would ideally like. In that, as I say, I am on tiptoes, and it feels a little bit top heavy compared to what I'm used to. It's fine when on that balance point, but it feels like if you had a pillion and loaded panniers, it could be a bit of a handful. Right, let's pull over here at Jack Hill's Transport Cafe, and I'll show you around the bike and talk you through the spec in the usual way. Nice and stable at slow speeds, this bike. Right, where can I put her that makes sense? Stick it over the back here somewhere. If you've never been here, by the way, to Jack Hill's, great stop if you fancy a greasy spoon. Right, I'm not going to be here long. Stick her here. Neutral. Stands nice and easy to get down. Now this has got the keyless ride, so I've got the key in my pocket as usual, so to stop her, it's just that sort of game on the stop button. Oh, and here she is, the big old Tiger 1200. This the XCA, and as you can see I've got it outfitted with the panniers as well, which is going to be interesting to see how they go. Anyway, let me get the other camera out and I'll talk you through the bike spec as usual. There we go. Oh, a little bit close. Hopefully you can see that all right. So this is the Triumph Tiger 1200. Oh, let's open the visor. XCA. It's shaft drive. Let's show you that. Look, there we go. And it's got the big old 1215cc triple engine in it. Lots of improvements on this bike for the 2018 model year, over and above what used to be called the Tiger Explorer. They've dropped the Explorer name now and just call it the Tiger 1200. It's had a bit of a restyle. I think it looks a handsome bike now. It's had loads of changes to the engine, and it's had loads more electronics added to it. So let's go through the spec then. 139 bhp at 9,350 rpm. Certainly doesn't feel underpowered, of course, with that big old engine. Torque, 122 newton meters at 7,600 rpm. The thing just pulls like a train. It gets up to silly speeds pretty quickly, has to be said. Brakes on here, amazing brakes. Here we go. Twin discs at the front with Brembo calipers. These front ones are 305mm with Brembo 4 pots. At the back we've got a single. Let's come around here, see if we can see it. Oh, there we go, you can just about see it. We've got a 282mm single pot Nissin caliper there. And as I mentioned before, this has got loads of electronics, so the ABS on this is switchable. Suspension wise, it's got WP 48mm upside down forks at the front, adjustable for rebound and compression damping, and the rear it's got WP monoshock. Let's come around and see if we can see that. Oh, can't actually see it, tucked in there somewhere. There we go, there she is. And this one's got the fancy electronic suspension as well, with the automatic damping, so you can have it, you can set it if you like for sort of comfort or harder ride or softer ride. This one's currently in auto and it rides really beautifully. Seat height on this, I mentioned it's adjustable. You can adjust it from 835mm to 855. Haven't yet had the chance to check what this one's adjusted at. I'm finding this a little bit tall, but there is plenty of range there. It's quite wide actually, the seat, when you sit on it, so even maybe at its low setting it's still a bit of a reach to the floor for us shorties. The weight of this, 242 kilograms dry, so it's a heavy old bike, you know, significantly heavier than the standard GS, for example. Tank capacity, 20 litres, so not a huge amount for a bike of this type. 20 litres is not a small amount, but if you looked again at something like, I don't know, one of the KTM Super Adventures, I think you're looking nearer 30 litres for those. Electronics, that's its big point on this bike, absolutely laden with them. Semi-active suspension, cornering ABS, heated grips as I mentioned, USB power ports, hill hold control, heated seats, electrically adjustable screen, LED self-cancelling indicators, backlit switchgear, Triumph shift assist, which is that amazing auto blipper and quick shifter, adaptive cornering lights. It's got the 5-inch TFT, 6 riding modes, goes on and on the list, so loads of electronics. So let me just show you the switchgear here actually close up while I can. So here's the left hand side, all the usual stuff, plus we've got cruise control, which is nice, and down here we've got the little joystick that controls the functions on the TFT. TFT is there, obviously off at the moment, and on this side start stop button that you use with the keyless ignition, of course. Switchgear all feels very nice and positive when you use it. Price wise, the XCA starts from 16,950. Sorry, the XCA, which is this model, is 16,950. If you want the XR, that's a more basic model, you can get that for 12,100. So an expensive old bike for sure, but you know, these big adventure bikes don't come cheap, do they, from any manufacturer. What else to mention? Torque assist clutch. This particular machine is available, I think, in white or marine. This is obviously the marine one. Other models available, as I said. It's a fairly confusing lineup, but as I say, the XC range is basically the off-road focus, so you get these spoked wheels, etc. And the XR versions are the more road focused. Thinking about competition for the bike, well, of course, things like the BMW GS and GSA and the KTM Super Adventures are all in the same sort of market as this. So there we go, that's the spec. Nice looking bike, I think. Alright, let's jump on and ride her some more. Oh, she's a big old girl to heft off the stand. Right, okay, so as all Triumphs, you have to get the clutch into starter and then bring her alive. And we can see the TFT screen bringing her alive, very nice. And then start her up. Right, I have to say, Jack Hills is smelling absolutely divine, and it is sort of lunchtime and I am a bit hungry. But anyway, I'm going to do the good thing and give the frappe a miss this time. Sadly, I've partaken in the frappe rather too much in the past, hence why I'm having to abstain now. It's turned into quite a nice day. Out of habit there, I changed up gear using the clutch to start with, but actually even at low speeds the quick shifter on this works nicely, and that can't be said for many of them. It's one of the better quick shifters and auto blippers I've ever come across. I'll show you where my feet are while we're waiting here. Look, I'm on the tiptoe on that side, tiptoe on this side. It doesn't feel horribly unstable or anything. I'm just conscious of its weight when I'm stopped like that. And I think if you had a full load up, maybe with a pillion, you certainly then have a job on your hands. I do like the way that Triumph do the heated grips controls on their bikes these days. You've got this little integrated button just here on the grip itself. Just press that and on they come. Nice and easy. I don't like having to faff through menus to get a heated grips. See what she's like through town. Actually a very easy bike to ride. As I say, once you're moving, all the weight goes away, and she's very stable at slow speeds. You can pretty much balance her when you're not moving anywhere. So nice in town in that respect. But with these panniers on, I don't think I'll be very comfortable personally filtering. I'm sure better riders than I could do so. But I don't think I'd want to be threading such a big bike through tiny gaps. So perhaps not the ideal commuter. But these sort of, you know, walking pace, the bike just stays upright, very nicely balanced. This is the splendid little market town of Towcester. Lovely little place, don't know much about it, except it looks nice. Okay, so that's just about it for my first impressions review of the brand new 2018 Triumph Tiger 1200. Overall, like the bike, very nice indeed. Love the little electronic touches, things like the adjustable screen that you can do electronically, and the heated seat and the heated grips are lovely. Don't know why all bikes don't have that sort of thing. The initial things that I don't like about the bike are, number one, its weight. As I mentioned before, at standstill it feels pretty heavy. And that just makes me lose a little bit of confidence with the bike. And the only other thing that I've found out so far on this initial couple of hour ride is that under braking the front dives quite a lot, and I don't like that very much. But other than that, she's very comfortable, very capable, fast, effortless to ride, beautifully balanced at slow speeds. Mirrors work well, seats comfy, screen works well. Really not a lot to not like, if you see what I mean. And really looking forward to getting to know this bike much better over the next few weeks. So I'm going to you know, be riding this as much as I can. I shall be taking it all in. I shall be making lists of the positive and negative points, and I'll bring you a longer term review in a few weeks time. So if you're interested in this bike, stick around and stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.